Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Super grateful for you taking the time today to spend a little bit of time with us and learn about some really what I think will be powerful information. I'm Sherry Powell. I'm the Director of Marketing at Kissinger Associates. Just give you a little bit of information about Kissinger before we dive into the real meat of our time today. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, and so that's like 4 decades. It's actually 4 decades of focusing on one thing, which is helping businesses to pick the right technology and make it work in their real world. We really have a passion for helping to advise teams on the practical changes they can make using technology to reduce friction in their business, to cut down on the manual work that their teams are doing, and to really, at the end of the day, protect their margins. So for these reasons, we love to partner with companies like Fortis and Tipalti, and that's why we've brought them into the conversation today with us. These are our strategic partnerships. We want to bring as much value as we can to our customers by connecting you with what we believe are best of breed solutions that can help you integrate more of what you do with Sage 100. So I think you're going to hear some very practical, very actionable ways that you can do that to streamline your AR and your AP processes so that your teams can spend less time on busy work, manual data entry, more time on high value work that you really would like them to be able to do. So this last slide here is my last one before I turn it over. I wanted to encourage you, if you haven't heard from us or talked to us about customer success plan meetings, we would love to set one of these up with you. It's again another way that we want to bring more value to our relationship and really build on what we've got going with you now. It's really kind of a short collaborative session where you get as many people from your team as you want there, and we bring our team and we look at what you're doing today. What is your business? What are your challenges? Where do you see the bottlenecks? What issues are you having? And by partnering with you, understanding that, asking you questions, we can help you build a roadmap to make the improvements that you need to overcome those challenges, and find the places. Maybe technology isn't the answer. We'll be straight about that. But if there are solutions that we can help you with to overcome those problems so you can get where you want to be with your business processes and your business in general, we'd love to do that. So I have a link for scheduling this kind of a meeting with us. I'll put that in the chat for you so that you have it if you'd like to take advantage of that. And we're happy to do these meetings. There's no charge for the meeting. And I think that's all I have. I'd like to turn it over now to Robert Ullman from Fortis. He'll be talking about their solutions.
Well, thank you, Sherry. And hey, congrats to Kissinger on 40 years. That's outstanding. Congrats to the whole team. Hi, everybody. And once again, thank you for joining. Appreciate your time. My name is Rob Ullman. I am one of the partner directors here at Fortis. We are a payments company integrated into all the Sage products. Joining me and presenting a quick demo of our solution is Brittany Dudman. She'll be doing the heavy lift here. I get to introduce my stellar teammate, Brittany. If we go to the next slide, please. So who is Fortis and why would you consider working with us? I won't bore you with slides and slides of accolades and how many employees and all that good stuff. You can happy to jump on our website if you want, but as the previous slide showed in bright green, we are a Sage endorsed Tech Partner Plus and a Sage recommended payment solutions. 2 stamps that we got from Sage. Why should this be important to you? Well, Sage is showing they have put Fortis under a microscope and have vetted us, allowing us to engage with their valued customers. Not all payment processors have this endorsement. In addition, We are a team of industry experts with over 200 new Sage accounts boarded and installed annually. Fortis is also a trusted and highly regarded partner of Kissinger and ISV partners like our good friends over at Tipalti. We are part of the Sage ecosystem and play well with others. So if where can you find us? Down below there. The first one should be contact your Kissinger representative. I apologize, that should be the first bullet. If not, Sage Marketplace. We have a resource center on fortispay.com, and we attend all the events. We're going to be attending the Sage Future for Partners coming up in November in Fort Lauderdale. If I could have the next slide, please. Thank you. And Brittany will go into more detail, but I'll just touch this on a high note. It's a real simple process. It helps strengthen your decision making, automates the processes. Take advantage of your Sage 100 for all these embedded solutions like a Fortis and a Tipalti. It accelerates cash flow. We deposit funds the next day when you process with us. It's secure and compliant. Everybody wants to be PCI compliant. Nobody wants to be in the newspapers, and we are compliant. Sage is compliant, and we will make sure your organization is PCI compliant. And as I mentioned earlier, you get the support of industry experts like a Brittany. We give live support. We back up everything, and appreciate the consideration. And I will pass it over to my teammate Brittany. Thanks, Maureen.
Thanks so much, Robert, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brittany Dudman. I am a B2B integration specialist here at Fortis. I have been working with ERP payments, specifically Sage 100, for about 13, 14 years, so not that awesome 40 years that Sherry and team have, but we're getting there. I am very excited this afternoon to show you a little bit of Click to Pay, which is one of my favorite features that Fortis offers. First place I'm going to start to show some Click to Pay stuff is in customer maintenance. Fortis does allow our merchants to determine at the customer level who has access to Click to Pay and who does not. Just a quick refresher, Click to Pay is that clickable button, that clickable link put on the invoice templates so that the merchant's buyers can go to a website, an external portal, a secure portal, make those payments on that site, and then those payments are imported back into Sage. This saves some AR time of the merchant's AR person having to be on the phone and processing those payments manually. So Fortis does allow our merchants to determine at the customer level who gets access to those links. Here, my customer, Mr. Tommy Ster, is opted in for Click to Pay, so I've provided some registration information. He can pay me by credit card and ACH, and has his successful registration number here, enabling him to log into our customer portal, which I will show in just a minute. Fortis does offer also a secondary control for Click to Pay application at the invoice level. So here I have a invoice for, again, my favorite customer, Mr. Tommy Tester. I put some line items on here, really nothing too special. But when I get to my totals tab, I have a secondary checkbox here to control whether or not this particular invoice goes to Click to Pay. So maybe this invoice is part of a larger series of invoices that I'm going to send out a different way, or maybe I do not want them to pay me on that web portal for whatever reason. I can uncheck this box, which will leave the customer opted in for Click to Pay at the high level, but just tell Click to Pay, hey, go ahead and ignore this one document, but future documents will still be eligible for Click to Pay. When I print that invoice, my customer is presented with something that looks a bit like this. My invoice template is pretty plain Jane here, but I did want to just highlight that you've got a couple of options for where we can place those Click to Pay buttons. Here I've got it kind of on the right, and then at the bottom, I've had a lot of merchants lately kind of placing it smack dab in the center here. So we can put it one spot, all three spots. We can pepper it all over the place wherever you've got room in that template. We can make that Click to Pay button fit. So when the buyer clicks on that link to their invoice, they are presented with a listing of their open invoices. We can add the merchant's company logo up here. The customer is greeted by name. and then they can click or unclick as many or as few of these invoices as they're going to make their payment against. As I select these invoices, my table over here on the right updates dynamically with those individually selected invoices, their individual amounts, and then my grand total here at the bottom. When the buyer selected the invoices they're going to pay, they simply click that pay button and they're brought to a guest checkout. Click to Pay here does support both credit card and ACH, so I'll go ahead and throw in my payment data. Don't bother saving this card information. You're not going to get very far with it, unfortunately. There we go. Buyer can make any changes to their billing information. We want to make sure that that name and address is as accurate as possible and matches what the buyer's bank has on file for them. They get a secondary listing of those individual amounts, their grand total, and then they can agree to pay. Now, as you may notice, if I go back into that Click to Pay invoice and attempt to open it, since I've already paid it, I'm going to get an error here. No payments due. I can't pay that invoice anymore. So that does help prevent those double payments. The other way that your buyers can access their Click to Pay invoices is through the customer portal, which is a branded URL for the merchant's business. So this would have their business name listed here. Using that email address and the last name that the merchant entered into that customer maintenance window right here. So using this last name and this email address as the customer, I can register for that customer portal account. I am sent a registration email that is associated with my email address as my username, and then I can set whatever password I need to. But I can log in here anytime to make my payments and have some additional functionality. I can view all of my invoices all paid down here, just like I could through that guest checkout. Through the customer portal, though, I also have access to a recent listing of transactions, including those invoices that I just paid through that guest checkout workflow. And then I can also store my payment data in our level 1 PCI compliant gateway as a token here or a vault. So going forward, when I'm ready to make my payments, I don't have to key in my payment data every time. I can simply select the invoice that I'm going to pay, the account vault if I want to use that, and then make my payment. There's no requirement for your buyers to store their payment data in this portal, though. If they want to go ahead and just key that in every time, they are absolutely welcome to. Now, how do we get those payments back into Sage? That is done through a cash receipt import. So I will go ahead and open. I think I've got one in here already. Yep. So I'll go ahead and start that batch. Now, I do not need to go back through my transaction reports to try to figure out who paid me on what invoice and how much. I'm simply going to click this import button here on the bottom left, and that is going to create a live query to the Fortis gateway to create those Click to Pay receipts, finding all of those eligible transactions that need to be imported. So here, if I go ahead and open this up, here's one of the receipts that was automatically created. Here's that payment the buyer made to me. If I go to my lines item, it's already associated with that invoice and the correct amount. I'm going to print and post just like I would for any other type of cash receipt. There are additional options for your buyers to receive email receipts as well. So if you'd like for them to get a secondary confirmation of that successful payment, automatic email receipts can be set up for both the customer and even the merchant internally so that they know those Click to Pay payments are waiting to be imported. And that is it for my demonstration here. I will go ahead and stop there and pass this over to John and team.
So thank you for having us here today. We are Tipalti. We are super proud of our relationship with Kissinger. As mentioned with a previous vendor as well, we are a Tech Plus partner as well. However, Maureen, if you don't mind going to the next slide, I am going to bore you with a little bit of who we are and what we do. So we are an accounts payable solution. We have a procurement module as well, expenses and cards. We have something called mass pay, that's more for the gig economy and things like this. We pay out about $5 billion a month across 196 countries and 120 different currencies. And some of the things that our customers keep telling us, specifically around CEOs, they're looking more to their financial leaders to create more strategic value. The other thing that we're finding is that in the AP world specifically, AP staff are considering, 59% of AP staff are considering leaving their jobs because of all the manual work. And as you can imagine, taking out people that know what they're doing and putting in new people when it would just be as easy enough to replace or get a solution that could help out would be wonderful. And then 73% of finance leaders are always asked to do more with less kind of deal. Kind of sounds like my household myself there. So, and that's one of the things that we do. We literally deliver the strategic value. We help and take away a lot of the mundane work. So Maureen, if you just click through the slides on the words, perfect. The talent retention is huge for us. We can actually save about 80% of the workload and automate a lot of that. And that creates operational efficiencies. We now get those people doing higher level jobs, doing a lot more efficient work, and looking actually into the data to see what we can do to close things faster as well on your end. And the way we do that is through our portal or our product, and Jav is going to take us through all of that in a second in a demo. What happens is we centralize everything, our procurement expense cards, everything is on one portal. We have a pretty robust onboarding portal as well that has a lot of the compliances built into it. We actually work with KPMG on the tax side of things as well. Vendors can't get any further if their information isn't correct. And we check that list every night to make sure there's no bad actors that we're paying out. Kind of like Robert's comment earlier, we just don't want to be in the newspaper for doing anything crazy and silly. So on the invoice side, what we've done there is we even though we can ingest invoices like most other people, we've actually built an AI agent around it that actually learns from it. So the more and more the staff uses it, the more and more it learns, the more automated it becomes. And then, like I said earlier, 196 countries, 120 different currencies we can pay out. And of course, we have a reconciliation agent at the end there. With the help of Kissinger people, we are a Tech Plus partner as well. We always have been. Kissinger has actually created our integration with Sage 100 specifically. So we're super proud of it and we're ready to launch it. So if anybody's interested, please reach out to your Kissinger people. Again, we can reduce about 80% of the manual effort that, that most AP departments will manage. And now we're going to pass it over to Jav to take a look at the demo.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. Just making sure everyone can hear me all okay. Awesome. Awesome, Maureen. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. Just give me 1 second. Awesome. Thank you. You should be seeing our supplier hub here. Apologies, the screen sharing was a little wonky there, but thank you, John, for the introduction, and congratulations again to the Kissinger team for 40 years in business. Definitely an exciting milestone to be celebrating, and really thankful for the time that we've been given here today. So the 2 major sections that we'll be covering today, we're going to start off with our supplier portal and the onboarding process on onboarding our vendors. We'll move on to processing the invoices, to finally remittance of payments themselves. So as you see here, I should be logged into my supplier portal. So the first stop of the Tipalti tour, and this would be the vendor's viewpoint, what they would be looking at when they sign in to the portal here. I'm just gonna zoom out a little bit just so everyone gets a better view of it. So to onboard, suppliers will receive an invite by email to get them registered onto the portal, where they're onboarded themselves. It's a pretty simple 3-step process to collect and validate this information, to get them registered. And we start off in the address tab where they're entering in their details here. As they're entering them in, what we're gonna do in the background team is we're gonna be conducting a series of OFAC and sanction screenings, essentially to make sure you're not paying any bad actors on your behalf. Based on their country selection here, this will dynamically determine the payment methods that are available to them on the next page. So for demo purposes, we're going to keep this within the United States and go on to payment information here. Now, I want to draw your attention to the different payment methods that Tipalti actually offers, right? And we can even help influence the ones that you want to pass on to your clients. So for example, number of our clients pass on the fee for paper checks onto the payee, but they take on the ACH fee themselves to help influence payees move on to a quicker and safer payment method to help influence a digital payment method right now. Now, for example, if I select an ACH and I enter in a routing code that's incomplete, it'll actually let me know that, okay, 9 digits are actually required for this routing code. If I go ahead and actually put in a 9-digit code, it's going to flag and say that this is not a valid American routing code, right? So as I mentioned earlier, not only are we collecting this information, but also validating it in real time. We partnered with KPMG to have 46,000 rules in the background to ensure that all of the information that we're putting in is actually accurate. For demo purposes, I'm going to go back to check because it won't let me progress on to the next stage here. But the last step of the vendor onboarding piece is the tax form finally. We have digitized W-9s and W-8s depending on the region, but let's say that the vendor's unsure on which form they need to fill out. So we have a quick yes and no tax form questionnaire here. Are you an individual? Yes. Are you a US citizen? Does the following apply to you? Yes. You would, based on the information that you've provided, you would need to fill out a W-9. If you do click on the W-9 option here, this will digitize the form for you right as you see here. So the vendor would go in, enter in the name, business name, EIN number, social security number right here on the form. And similarly to how we collect their payment information, we would validate this against the IRS to ensure that all of this is indeed accurate. Completing the vendor onboarding piece. Now, vendors not only would onboard themselves in the Supplier Hub team, but they would also be able to see the status of the payments that are being made out to them, the different currencies, payment method, and whether they're being scheduled or paid, as well as the invoice status that has been submitted previously as well, similar to the amount, dates, and the status of where they're sitting within the approval workflow. Last but not least, vendors can also submit an invoice through Tipalti on the Vendor Hub as well. That would complete the first stage of the AP workflow within Tipalti. Shifting gears, we're going to move on to invoice processing. So this is what your Tipalti Hub would look like. This would be the home page, and we're going to start off in the pending review on the far left here. Now, we do have AI sprinkled throughout the platform, as you see on the banner right here. And one of the neat features is identifying any potential duplicates. So for example, if you do have, as you see here, flagged an entity that is the same payer ID, even the payee name, or even a very similar amount number, it will flag this as a potential duplicate, notifying your team right there at the homepage that maybe this might be needing some human intervention and review. But I want to go in to show you what the invoice would look like once it's been processed. So invoices get dedicated or processed through a dedicated inbox. So let's say invoices at kissinger.com. And what Tipalti does is it pulls these invoices in from that inbox and processes them through 2 layers of engines, what we call AI Smart Scan and a Tipalti AI, which now, as you see here, and actually I'll zoom out a little bit further, is it processes these invoices not just on a header, but on a line item as well, eventually coding this information to the appropriate GL account within Sage, for example, as well as the department, location, and class. The AI is pretty powerful, as mentioned, it does detect duplicate bills, will flag this to the team prior mentioning, but also the ability to switch between entities on the fly. So let's say we have multiple entities, you can choose which entity that you would like this invoice to be paid out from, right here from this drop-down menu at the top. In terms of approvals, so if I scroll to the very bottom of this page, pretty robust approval workflow customization. So the team can set up workflows ahead of time depending on vendor, choice of department, for example. So Maya in this approval workflow would be the very first one. If the invoice is regarding the department, you can also assign approvers throughout the chain based on dollar-based approvals as well. So for example, if a bill coded to the marketing department is over $5,000, it would need to go to the appropriate folks within the marketing team before proceeding on to the approval workflow. The neat function about this approval piece is employees don't actually need to log into Tipalti to complete this step. Now, I'm sure everyone here is familiar with their email inbox. So when we've kicked off the approval workflow, every individual within that would receive an email that looks just like this. You would have all the line items on that invoice. And if we scroll to the bottom as well, we can see historical invoices that were also submitted from this vendor. You can see the approval workflow on the left here. So you see Sarah Spoya is the first one in this chain pending her approval. The contract agreement with the vendor is also attached on this email thread for easy reference. And then as you see on the bottom here, team, the blue tabs is where the employee or approver will be able to go in and mark this invoice as approved right from their inbox itself. So the team will need to log in to Tipalti. They won't need to be upskilled on Tipalti, especially if you have pretty stringent and extensive approval workflows. The team can manage their approvals right from their inbox itself. Now, let's say if they would want to dispute this, send it back to the AP department, they can choose to do so within this box as well. Once that's done, that would actually conclude the approval workflow piece. And we're going to shift gears on to the very last step, which is once the invoice has been processed through, marked as approved, we would then move on to creating a payment batch. So once we log in back into Tipalti on the home page on bills, on the far right here in the pending payment tab, you can filter these payments, based on vendor or date, helping you organize this. But I want to direct your attention to creating a payment run only for the bills you would want to pay. So if I click here, all of these would be selected, but let's say we just want to pay the first two at the top. We can then pay these bills based on a payment cycle or based on a specific date. So for example, if vendors, from the specific vendor needs them paid by a specific date, we could have that curated and set up or been paid out on a payment cycle based on the original agreement that you have. Tipalti also has an automated payment scheduler, so you can also create these payment batches automatically based on the due dates, coding that ahead of time to ensure that these batches are created for you, requiring even less manual intervention. But let's say these payment batches have been created. We're now going to move on to the last step, which is the approval of executing the payments themselves. So if I go into the payments tab and click on manage payments, this is where all the payment batches would live once you have created them. As you see here, these are the week 2, week 3, week 4 payment batch invoices, and this would include all the payments within this payment batch, the different payment methods that we're remitting against, the different bills involved, as well as the currency that we're remitting against across the various entities that we're doing. As you see here, all of these have been scheduled to mark as paid. Now, a neat function is, let's say there is an incorrect payment within this batch. We don't have to go ahead and cancel the whole batch. You can go in and click these 3 dots on the far right to cancel the singular payment within the batch itself. But let's say everything looks good here. You can simply click approve at the top, and this payment batch would be executed to be paid out to the vendors. That would be the remittance piece. Last but not least, I just want to highlight the funds required just to add on as a cash flow monitoring tool as well as a funding tool. The way Tipalti works is we would provide a FBO account for benefit of owner that clients would fund, and then Tipalti would then pull to disperse into their vendors. As you see here, you can see all the different currencies, as well as the due dates that they would need to be funded in to ensure that payment methods are placed on. And that's all from me, team. That's concluding the workflow starting from vendor onboarding onto invoice processing to lastly the remittance of payments themselves. I'll pass it back to you, John.
Thank you, Jeff. Maureen, we're going to bring you back in.
Ready for the Q&A portion. If there's any questions, I'm going to review what is in the chat. I did see a couple come through initially. I'll start with those. Please feel free to enter your questions into the chat now. So first question is back to you, Sherry of Kissinger Associates. If we have already customized customizations in place? How does Kissinger approach integrating solutions like Fortis or Tipalti for simplicity?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question. We do know that there are many Sage 100 environments that are customized in some way because there are so many different kinds of businesses that can use Sage 100. And we have been a developer, a master developer. I don't know if they still use that term, but that's the historic term for Sage 100 since, you know, the beginning of that program way back when it was called MAS 90. So we've been doing customizations for a long time. So it's a really important consideration when we look at integrating with another system like Fortis or Tipalti, bringing an integrated solution in. We have to do the right process to make sure that that's going to be successful. One of the things to do is make sure that we're clear on what the customer's current system contains. So we'll ask a bunch of questions, but we will also do our due diligence by reviewing your installed modules listing to make sure that we are informed about everything that's in place. So that's a good place for us to start, in addition to having conversations. And then once we have an understanding on paper of what's there, we then need to evaluate how do those customizations, if they're in place, how do those impact workflow? How do those impact reporting? What are those customizations doing? What parts of Sage 100 are they touching? So then from there, we would have a pretty clear idea of whether there would be any considerations or anything unique to look at, or if those customizations and an integration with Fortis or Tipalti or both can coexist successfully. So that's what we do. We do this all the time. So we're very familiar with that process. And you know, the goal is that once we do that evaluation, and then when we're implementing, we can test and make sure that everything is working in a way that preserves what's been put in place before and adds the new functionality. So I think we're pretty good as a partner at anticipating those common pain points that could be there and making sure that we help you through a smooth implementation process. And then, of course, we stay engaged after you are live with anything new to make sure that everything is continuing to run seamlessly, especially when updates come out or things happen in the future. We want to make sure that everything is working and giving you what you were looking for. I hope that answers your question.
It certainly does. It sounds like they're in good hands with any transitions that may come up. So Kissinger is a preferred partner. The next question I have, John, with Tipalti. Can Tipalti work with multiple entities with a variety of currencies? You touched on that just a little bit, so if you can recap that for us.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, definitely. That's literally our sweet spot. Our solution has been built so that we grow with businesses as they grow on. For instance, if you're looking to open up into a new geography or a new, create a new company underneath an umbrella, we actually grow with you. So you're not looking for a new solution. We can expand with you. And on the geography, it's 196 countries and 120 different currencies that we can pay out in.
So I think you got it covered.
Question.
Great.
We got it covered, yes.
All right. So
I see another question for John. Did you notice that one?
I did. Invoice data entry and bank reconciliation is how does Tipalti withdraw money from your bank account to make the actual payments on your behalf, and how does it integrate with Sage AP invoice data entry and bank reconciliation? I believe I captured all that. It's a little truncated for me here. John, can you answer that one?
That's a great question. I'll just chime in there as Jav speaking.
Okay.
So so the way it works is Tipalti would provide all clients an FBO account, which is a for benefit account. So we don't have ownership. Think of that as a clearing account. Tipalti doesn't have ownership or access into these funds other than pulling them to remit into the vendors that we're paying across multiple regions and multiple currencies. So you would fund this FBO account either through ACH pull or push. A lot of our clients actually set up a dedicated pull on a cadence based on when they need to pay out their vendors. So for example, if we're paying out vendors on a 2-week basis, they would have the funds pulled every 2 weeks, at least 3 to 4 business days in advance to ensure that the FBO account is funded in the proper currencies. For example, if we are remitting in multiple different currencies, and then pull from that FBO account to disperse to the various vendors that we're paying across multiple payment methods as well. For the reconciliation piece, so we do have an API integration with Sage Intacct. I know our folks at Kissinger are at work on building the integration with Sage 100. So once the invoice has been processed and paid within Tipalti, using that API integration, Tipalti would then automatically reconcile that bill for you in Sage. Now, as you saw earlier, not only are we scanning these invoices on a header and line, not only on a header level, but also on a line item level. So each line item on that invoice would be coded to an expense account within Sage's general ledger. Hope that helps answer that question. My apologies if it's a little long-winded.
It certainly does. Thank you. So one more question has come in for Mr. Ullman or Brittany from Fortis. Looking to get started. Let's say they are asking about switching gateways. Let's talk about can you share any insight regarding the ease of that? How often you see it happen, or any experiences that you can share there to get somebody started on the processes of switching to Fortis?
Sure. Great question. I'll take some of it. Brittany, if you want to throw in technical in the end, I'd appreciate it. But once again, being a Sage recommended solution, Sage themselves recommend us. They drive business towards us. So if they hear someone's unhappy with their current processor, they recommend talking to us, having us take a look. Very easy process. We do it all day long. We have a dedicated sales team. You reach out to Kissinger, we'll assign a rep, and they'll go through the whole process. And hopefully, it's not a tough climb for you, and would be happy to discuss that. So we do this all day long. Switch customers in the Sage world over to our processing. And I don't know, Brittany, if you have anything technical that we can wow them with, but I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So I can add to that we do support token imports from other gateways. So if a merchant currently is storing their payment data through another provider's vault, we will support an import of that token data, so the merchant doesn't need to necessarily lose those records. And then the other thing that Fortis does that's really great is offer those sandbox environments that are fully capable, fully functional. So you can really test Fortis even with party editions. I think that was mentioned in an earlier question, to ensure full functionality before going live, to help mitigate any of those hurdles or those bumps or those unexpected things that always come up.
Well, thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Rob. I don't see any other questions. Give it a moment here while we wrap up. Thanks to all our presenters, our partner Kissinger, for hosting today and keeping us all well informed of finishing 2025 very, very strong. Thank you. This concludes our presentation. Anybody still on the line that has questions, feel free to reach out directly in response to the webinar queue that you received. We will answer your questions. If you have any other needs for follow-up, we're happy to reach out directly to you. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Maureen. I just want to say thanks to all our customers for attending. We appreciate you, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. And thank you to Fortis and Tipalti also.
Yep, sure thing.